So for my couple of faithful who are interested in career readiness, thanks for joining the conversation today. And basically, we're going to talk about the core career competencies and kind of what that means and why they're important, what they are, and how you would want to uh, how you can want to know what they are so that you can uh, choose the ones that are going to be right for your career field and focus on those. So there are going to be a couple of prompts for discussion. So I encourage you to I don't know, ask questions when it's time, and ask questions when it's not time, because that's great. I'd love to kind of make this more conversation than anything else. But we do have slides we can move through just to make sure that everything gets covered. So I'll go ahead and get started here. Can everybody see everything? You can see the screen okay? All right, good deal. I may have to hide you guys because you're covering a little bit of my info, but we'll see how it goes here. All right, so you've probably seen this slide in a couple of other presentations. We just want to make sure that you are on track and learning what you need to, and take some things away that you can apply to your life. So the first thing I'd like to do is just kind of open up a question here. How would you define career readiness? If I could get a couple of examples from you guys.
I would say that career readiness is whenever you feel like you're ready to go out in the workforce, you're comfortable with your skills and what you've learned.
Okay.
I would say the more that you have prepared to work with the setups that they have in their certain careers, like if there was a certain program that they all used, like if Excel was something that they use every single day, the more that you knew about Excel, the more ready you would be.
Yeah, and that's a great example. Like understanding some specific things that you're going to need for success in your job, and there are going to be those that are kind of across the board, no matter what job you're doing. Somehow I have turned this on autoplay, so we're just going to go with it. So there are things across the board that you're going to have to know. Like everybody needs to know the Microsoft suite, because even if you're a Mac person, the world kind of runs on Microsoft. So you have to know how to use Excel. You have to know how to use Word, or you have to know how those interact with equivalents and other operating systems. So that technology piece is super critical. And the more and more we move toward the future, as the future becomes present, the more and more pervasive technology is. So that definitely is a main thing. But we'll move on into some definitions here. So career competencies, as you can see here, I'll try my best not to just read to you, but just to kind of let you see here. Knowledge includes, well, see, as I said, y'all, I apologize. This is one of those tech things we're learning. I'm not sure what I've done to it here, but I definitely turned on some stuff. So career readiness is the attainment and demonstration of requisite competencies that broadly prepare college graduates for a successful transition into the workplace. And that's defined by National Association of Colleges and Employers. So I think what I'm going to do is leave it open like this, because then it is at least cooperating a little better. So thanks for your patience. As I said, though, one of the competencies is understanding technology. So usually you want to make sure things are working before you jump into your presentation. So learn from me. All right, so we'll go ahead and go down to the next one. So what are career competencies? That is knowledge. It includes the principles and facts associated with certain content domains. Basically, it's like competencies kind of cover these knowledge and skills and abilities. It's all these different things that you're going to need to do to be successful in your career. So you can see like abilities are the aptitudes that influence work performance. Some of them come a little more naturally to you. Some of them you can develop over time. Some people are like public speaking, for example. Public speaking comes very easy to some, and some other people really have to work at it. So that's one of those. And for a lot of jobs, it's a requisite. So it's those kinds of things to keep in mind. Yeah, skills are I like this wording here, vehicles that allow workers to successfully complete job tasks. So if you can possess, develop these skills, then it really helps you to be able to perform better on the job. All right, so NACE has identified 8 competencies that that really are kind of the key factors that you need kind of across the board. And these are a little bit fluid. They change them a little bit. Right now, they're kind of a primary 7, and they have this 8th one that's tacked in. But just to kind of give you an idea of what those are, we'll go through them, and then we can talk about, like, based on your potential career paths, which ones you think are going to be more important for you. All right, so the first one is critical thinking and problem solving skills. So as this says, you want to be able to exercise sound reasoning, to analyze issues, make decisions. You want to overcome problems. You know, that's one of those real things that, like, every day something comes up. Even like during this session here, like, problem solving is requiring me to figure out a way to undo the auto forward on this slideshow presentation. And so in order to solve the problem, just show it as a full screen like this, which is not ideal, but it did solve the problem. So there are critical thinking could allow me to know that this is a potential issue, and for the next presentation to do some research and figure out the best way to move forward for the next one. So that is one of those skills that you need on the job. That can be applied to lots of different things that you're doing at work. If you know there's a common issue that comes up in your workplace, then being able to think through what potential solutions are in advance to be able to address those is a great thing. Oral and written communication is critical. That's one of those things that it really is across the board. All jobs are going to require you to have some sort of communication, and it fits in with some of the others you see, like teamwork. You have to be able to communicate with the people around you. A lot of times that's just through oral communication. It might be a team meeting. It might be that you are a team lead for something, or you have to be able to provide instructions. Maybe you have a group of people that either report to you, or you have to be able to report to one or more supervisors about a project that you have going on. And so sometimes that means understanding how much time you have to speak about something, what the important parts are, and organizing those so that your oral communication is effective and can really get through what you need to in the right amount of time. The written communication is really interesting because there's a lot of nuance to it. It's understanding who your audience is, understanding what your voice is, understanding what the important information is, and really what is expected from the reader, and being able to include the pertinent information, but then include those other details that make the conversation engaging so that the communication can move forward. So this one actually has a lot of moving parts to it. All right, so this one, global and intercultural fluency, is the one that's a little bit more fluid right now for NACE. There's a lot of different things that kind of go into this, but the this brief paragraph here is really kind of the key parts to it. So it's the value, respect, and you want to value, respect, and learn from diverse others, demonstrating openness, inclusiveness, and the ability to interact respectfully. So that's basically the short of that is just respecting that people are different from you and understanding what each person brings to the table. You're hardly ever going to be in an environment where everybody's just like you. You know, like we've always said, everyone's an individual. Even when there's assimilation, even when there is, you know, popularity of things, everybody likes the same kinds of outfits or the same cup of coffee. You know, like it's pumpkin spice latte season, so everybody's got a pumpkin spice latte in their hand. Yes, but maybe your sweetener is different, or maybe you like it in a different kind of cup, or maybe you like it iced, which I can't imagine that. You know, like there's so there are things that even when people are similar, they're still different, and you need to be able to understand how to interact and engage with people who are different from you in order to move forward in a peaceful and respectful way. All right, so leadership. Leadership is a huge component of competencies and success in the workplace. I mean, it's so critical that for us, it's its own person in our department that teaches about leadership, because that is something that regardless of what position you hold within your career field, leadership is going to be a piece of what you do. That might be that you're in a managerial role and you are literally leading people and managing people on the job. But it could also be that there's some team project or you're working in a lab together and you happen to have the expertise on how this project needs to be done. And so you take it upon yourself to serve as a leader. You're the one that kind of naturally steps up in your friend group to make a decision on where you're going to have dinner because nobody else wants to make the decision. Those are all indicators of leadership. And so being able to do that in a way where it respects other people's opinions, but at the end of the day, you can guide everybody to some sort of consensus, that's super critical and a great tool to have in the workplace. And again, questions as we go along, we'll definitely have some time for conversation. All right, so information tech application. This one is what I was kind of mentioning early on, that information technology is kind of everywhere. You have to be able to make it work. So it may not work the way you want it to, but you've got to be able to make it work regardless. So you've got to be able to understand what piece of technology is going to work best for you in any particular situation, understand how it works, understand what potential issues might come up with it. And if you have the time, kind of do some troubleshooting in advance to make sure you can anticipate those. But you want to be able to use technology in a way that makes things better. You want to make it more efficient. You want to make it more accurate. Technology doesn't do you any good if it hinders the process, if it slows things down, if it causes more problems than it does good, then it's the wrong piece of technology for what you're doing. But almost always technology is going to be an improvement. And so understanding how it applies to your situation is going to be critical in the world of work for you. All right, so teamwork and collaboration is kind of like leadership. It's one of those things that you use all over the place. Rarely do you, in the workplace, do something that is just you. There is always going to be some sort of team aspect, even if you're the only one in your job that has your job. It's usually part of a team or it's part of a division within a company, unless you are, or even if you own your own company. There are still going to be people who are, like you'll have a product that you're trying to sell and you have to kind of collaborate with the people who want to buy it. It's all about teamwork and collaboration, building a relationship that kind of I don't know, embraces, or like this says, represents diverse cultures, experiences, viewpoints, but kind of embraces that that idea that everybody's a little bit different, and understanding how to come together through this kind of teamwork idea. So this one pulls on those other things like leadership, on communication skills. So this one definitely is one of those that builds on others. All right, so professionalism and work ethic. This one can get interesting. This is one of those that kind of shows people's, I'm going to say true colors. Like ideally, everybody kind of respects what is supposed to be done. There's kind of an unspoken moral code in society, and you kind of operate from this viewpoint of people understand what the kind of general moral code is, and they work from there. The truth is, though, that everybody doesn't have the same moral code, and that things that you think of as big deals may not be a big deal to other people. Even little things like what you see listed here, like punctuality. For some people, if you are later than 15 minutes early, you're late. For other people, if you arrive within 30 minutes of the start time, then you're good to go. That depends on a lot of different other factors that have gotten to the person where they are now. And so there is kind of this conversation that has to be had to kind of establish what the culture is in your workplace, what is considered to be professional, what is considered to be appropriate ethic, and using that kind of baseline to make sure that everybody is holding those same standards. But it definitely does require, again, communication, teamwork, collaboration to make sure that we're all on the same page when it comes to this professionalism and work ethic. All right, so career management. This one is, I feel like it's kind of like a next level one. So it's, identifying and articulating skills, strengths, knowledge, experience relevant to the position desired and career goals. So this is one of those where you have to kind of go back to your critical thinking skills and really think about, where are you trying to go with your career? What difference do you want to make? What's your ideal work environment? Who do you want to work with? Where do you want to work? Like, what kind of geographic location? Lots of different questions there about what you want to do, and really think about it, and put it down on paper, say it to somebody, and really start to use those ideas of where you want to go, as a way to navigate your career path forward. And so career management very much is taking control of where you're headed, rather than just kind of letting the next opportunity happen to you, kind of make it happen for you. So that's career management. Um, that's a very high level overview of what those are. So we are at a point for questions. I'm happy to go back through those, and we can kind of land on ones that are more interesting to you and talk more about them. So let's definitely do that.
So Mark, I've got a quick question for you. So I noticed that teamwork and collaboration was one of those career competencies. Now, I don't have the course catalog memorized, but I don't think we've got a class entitled Teamwork and Collaboration as far as an academic course. How might students gain more and more experience, either at UTC or in the community, with developing more evidence and skill development around teamwork and collaboration?
That's a great question, Rob. So there's actually a number of different ways that you can do that. Primarily, in almost every class that you take, there's going to be some team project. You don't want to get the reputation for always being the one that insists on taking the team lead, but you do want to lead when it's appropriate to lead, and you want to be an active contributor to the group when you're a part of a group. The best thing you can do is quickly identify what your role is going to be within that group, and do the best of your abilities to succeed in that role, and make sure that the group succeeds as a whole. So that's the quickest and easiest way to gain those teamwork and collaboration skills, is just by what's handed to you in class. But on top of that, it's looking for things like volunteer opportunities, or to get involved with a couple of student organizations on campus, and identify those projects that are happening within those organizations, or within those volunteer opportunities, to work with other people, to figure out what kind of end goal there is, and how you can work together as a team to achieve that goal. So those are things that look really great on a resume, for one thing, but also really help you develop those skills. So that's a really great way to do it.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Rob. Other questions? We have so much time. There's so much time for activities.
Yeah, I have a question. There was can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, so there was a slide on leadership, and I was wondering, because, that doesn't come naturally for me. So can we talk about it more?
About leadership?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess you want to talk about it more in what aspect?
Like how you can build leadership, or if you can kind of get away with not having leadership skills. Okay.
Yeah. So I would say it's possible to get away without having leadership skills, but I don't know that you want to. There's always going to be some opportunity for you to use them. And so even if it's something that doesn't come naturally to you, if you're more of a go with the flow person, and maybe you're the person in the group that's better at operations and execution. So like somebody lays out the plan for you, and you're like, great, we've got the plan. I can, help execute these details. Well, in reality, you're taking leadership on those details of whatever is happening. So you're still using leadership skills. You're just not using them as the team lead. So there are lots of different ways to develop leadership skills. It doesn't mean that you have to hold official roles with official titles. I think it just means that you kind of know what your skills and abilities are, and within those, you take leadership for making sure that those things are done successfully. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Thank you.
Just like 6 or 50 more words on that. I think that unfortunately, the graphic that Mark and I chose for that slide was like this ribbon with the number 1 in it. And I think it has this connotation of leadership as like a platform thing or an in front of people thing, or as this hierarchical kind of climbing, and then I get all the attention. I really want to emphasize the fact, 2 things that Mark began to say, and I think he said plenty enough on, but I think leadership can be directed internally. Like, I'm going to lead myself. I'm not going to be persuaded or influenced by opinions that I really don't recognize as being true or authentic. So it's having that ability and the confidence to stand on your own feet. I think that self-leadership is very, very important. I think noticing all that's going around us in society, where there is a conflict over who has the truthiest truth, and who has the authority to speak. I think that it's super important that we have the ability to again stand in our own shoes and lead ourselves, so make up our own decisions. And then the second comment I would make is that leadership is not always based on title or conferred authority, as Mark mentioned, but oftentimes leadership can be boiled down to influence. So I think having a reputation, working with some frequent collaborators as someone who knows his or her stuff and who is invested in the success of the broader group, I think that it would be important for you to share, to influence either through work product, a conversation, some type of an appeal, or some other aspect or some other demonstration of your contribution. As Mark mentioned, aspiring to have a voice and to use it true to yourself, I think that is absolutely an imperative for students today, for everyone today. But I think you're right. I mean, I heard it, maybe I was hearing things, but I heard it in your voice that I'm not into like top-down leadership. That's okay. Top-down leadership has disappointed a lot of organizations. And I think it's much more important that there is a group of folks that know who they are and can bounce off of strengths to get really important work done the right way. I hope that didn't interfere with the talk, Mark.
That was helpful. Thank you. Other questions?
Hi, I had a question regarding workplace. I guess the term would be resiliency.
Okay.
I've worked in my own career development for a little while, and I think one of the things that I've struggled with at first, and that I hear a lot of other people struggle with, is kind of coming to terms with understanding that there are certain things that you don't know until you gain a certain amount of experience in a career field, and then developing resiliency around that. And I guess I wonder if you have any tips for the development of that resiliency and how to approach it in the workplace.
That is an excellent question. And I really don't know if there's one answer to that. I think a lot of that, to me, that is going to depend on who you are as a person and how you're resilient in other areas too. So if you're a person that has a thick skin and can bounce back when you get constructive feedback or not so constructive feedback, then I think that being able to just kind of put your nose down and get to work and understand that people are going to let you know when you do something wrong, and hopefully will also let you know when you do something right, and give you clear instruction. If you're a person that doesn't handle constructive or not so constructive feedback well, then it might be important to kind of let that be known early on, and seek out some guidance from leadership to let them know, like, look, this is who I am as a person. I want to know how I can be successful for you, and I need you to provide me with some guidance, and maybe even ask for some mentorship. Ask for someone to serve as a mentor, because that's one of those ways to learn what's going to be necessary on the job, and to learn it early from people who've already been through it. But it really kind of depends on you, and how you're going to respond in those kinds of situations. So there's not a one answer for that. Rob, do you have more on that one?
Oh, I don't need to answer everything, but gosh, I really love that question, Silas. And I think for me, I would encourage you to say yes as often as possible, to invite ambiguity, invite the challenging assignment. But I think it's also important to have other people in your life, because Mark mentioned kind of self-advocating, practicing that proactive self-care by communicating your needs to the people you work with. Yes, all day yes on that. But sometimes folks that you work with or you're in a relationship with, they're not trying to hear that. And so it's important to realize that sometimes work people can't be there for you, and I wouldn't say it's an unfair, it's an unfortunate situation where they're interested in your work product, but not as you as a person. So it's important to develop those people around you, so that the people that you'll invite into your inner circle to say, hey, I'm really burnt out emotionally because this is happening in my life, or man, I'm really maxed out with my creativity. Can we just, watch something stupid on television, just laugh and eat a burrito? And so whatever that is, eat a burrito is probably code for something. I'm sorry, I'm old, so I don't know what all the codes are, but I probably just talked about smoking marijuana. That's not what I'm endorsing. But again, I think that there is a place for folks that could challenge you, and there's a place for folks that can rebuild you after you're at that place of, I'm up against the wall, and I want to be resilient. I want to be tough. I want to be who I am, but my core hurts. So I think having some folks around you in your life to kind of hold up the mirror and be truthful with you, I think that's super important. Hopefully that helps.
All right,
That helps a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We always appreciate those great questions, and we definitely thank you for joining in the conversation today. I'll be in the daily debrief as well. So if you have additional questions, or you want to get in touch with me, you can find me there. We are right up on time, so we want to make sure that we get you to your next sessions. But we definitely appreciate you participating in this conversation today. All right, I'm going to jump out and go to my next one.
Thank you.
Thanks.